Thank you.
I thank the gentleman. I'll now recognize myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Bowman, you took away one of my lines with the Jefferson one.
I apologize.
No, it was well said. Doctor, I'm going to start with you because I just want to understand one thing. If what you say is true in practicality as it is in law, then there should be a large difference between the agency amount taken from our witnesses, if they are under that, and union dues, presuming that a large amount is spent on directly or indirectly political activity. Is that correct?
That there should be a large amount?
Well, if a large amount of the union's activities is spent, non-PAC activity particularly, is spent on political activities, including asking for more money, asking for people to go to rallies, all of that should be reduced, the amount that the free rider, if you want to use that term, pays to simply have the other negotiations. Is that correct? In other words, very simply, the political activity money is to be only spent from union dues and not from the agency under the law. That's what you said in your opening statement. Is that, you stand by that?
Yes.
Ms. Coomer, have you looked into the difference between what would happen if you asserted your Beck rights and simply, instead of paying full dues, only paid for the portion that was negotiated to help your employer be I guess it would be having your employer treat you more fairly, your daughter, right?
Yeah.
Have you looked into that?
I have, and actually,
Would you turn your microphone on, please? And by the way, I'm assuming that your daughter is a good employer, and you know, even without the union.
she's very cooperative. I have, and the reality is that according to the bargaining agreement, that the dues that I pay, the only way that I can not pay dues, actually the amount that I pay is the same. It's not like there's a reduced fee. I have to belong to a religious organization and prove that I belong to a religious organization that prohibits me. And then I'm required, according to the bargaining agreement, to choose a non-religious organization, and the union has to approve of that. And when I choose it, and if they approve, then that equal amount goes, I can then donate that to that organization, but it has to be upon the approval of the union. And so in the end, I'm still paying the same amount of money. And then every quarter I have to show that I have taken that money and done that.
Okay, I'm going to go to each of the witnesses for their experiences before I go back to the doctor. So your experience is it's the exact same amount of money. There's no reduction to you, or in this case, to the money you use to care for your daughter. There's no reduction if you try to opt out of the union, even though the Beck decision says there should be.
This is what I have been informed of by the union.
Ms. Waite, what have you found something similar, or what has been your experience?
To opt out the union?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not forced to become a member of the union in Alabama, but most teachers are members of the union because that's the only place we can get liability insurance. Alabama is a right-to-work state, so we don't have collective bargaining power.
So what you're saying is that you would save money in your particular case if you opted out of the union, but one of the most important parts, what you need, the insurance, is only available in Alabama. Is that one of the reasons that you can't get out?
The insurance comes from being a part of AEA and NEA, the liability insurance.
And the State of Alabama doesn't have an alternate program so that you can choose to not be a union member?
Not yet, not at this time.
Okay. So in your case, it's not the dues per se. It's something else that is essentially locked in by the union exclusivity.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman, what has been your, I went to school down in Adrian, so yeah, I looked north and there you are. So what has been your experience in the Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti area?
Well, I have not exercised my Beck rights.
You're a very proud union member, as I understand.
Yeah, I want to maintain my union membership and work within the union to get some of these, what I would call offenses, changed. So I don't know the exact percentage of what personally, I don't know. I have been told by many members that the agency fee tends to be anywhere from 90% on up of what regular union dues are. So I think that's a fair assessment.
Well, thank you. Doctor, my original assertion does not appear to fit at all with Mr. Bowman, who says it's 90%, and Ms. Coomer, who says it's identical, the total out-of-pocket or the amount denied her ability to take care of her child or adult child is the same. How do you answer that in light of your explanation of the Beck decision?
It would be hard to comment on particular situations.
Okay, well, let's do something. But let me just close. Let me close with a question, and then you can have as much time as the ranking member will let us have. Shouldn't there be transparency so we could determine what the appropriate number would be? Shouldn't we know how much is being spent on politics versus other stuff in light of the Beck decision?
I think there should be transparency, and there is transparency. And actually, there is a good study by Masters, Gibney, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, Zaganechik, called Worker Pay Protection, Implications for Labor's Political Spending and Voice, and published in the Industrial Relations, and we can make this part of the record. And it's hard to respond to anecdotal arguments about particular cases, but at least they looked at this across all labor organizations and across major international unions, and what they found was that for all labor organizations, political spending was only 4.27% of the money that was collected.
Okay, well,
but
then you've given me an answer. Okay, you've given me an answer, and I'm sure the ranking member would agree with you. But one of the problems we have is it's hard for us to believe that it is in fact only 4% with the experiences of how active they are. But having said that, the ranking member, if without objection, will be given an additional minute. So put it in a 6. And the gentleman is recognized.